In the mid-3rd millennium BC, Breezy amused herself with her pets and her beehive in the geometric garden of Chloris, which would later become known as the inner garden of the apple trees. It was filled with exotic flowers and the 12 leafy apple trees, laden with unusual golden apples, under Chloris's strict care. There, she tended to her hard-working bees, who produced exquisite honey, multifunctional wax, and performed their pollination duties. The honeycomb had been a gift from the diligent Hesperides, or goddesses of sunset, when they visited the palace of Thrace, keeping the Great Earth Mother company. On this occasion, it was the beetle Khepri, in his peculiar way of communicating with Breezy, who let her know that the magic dropper would give them a very pleasant surprise at any moment. At the beginning of spring, after traveling vast distances around the planet on the breeze and taking an interest in the smallest details of nature, especially prehistoric humans, Breezy and her pets returned home. After quenching their thirst, they descended into the sacred cave, as was already their custom. The intuitive cat Cypress is the first to enter the peaceful enclosure of the magic dropper. She is the one who discovers a luminous little egg on the floor, a strange dodecahedral shape that, coincidentally, resembles one of the three-dimensional geometric figures that appear in Chiron's cube. After touching it and rolling it with her paws, it catches Breezy's attention, who picks it up, and, after examining it carefully, quickly ascends the stone staircase, followed by the cheerful and jumping Cypress, with the beetle Khepri hanging from her neck, throwing off shimmering flashes of exotic colors, to a small room located at the side of the apple garden. The joyful and surprised Chloris takes charge of the small dodecahedron, where she will keep an eye on and care for the luminous egg, which, along with others like it, will be known as the drops. They celebrate after so much expectation and impatience when the drop hatches and a small larva emerges, which quickly becomes a colorful and luminous caterpillar, which Breezy names Welcome. The friendly and greedy Welcome makes the lush and colorful apple garden her own, especially the delicious golden apples, which she devours insatiably. Welcome lets Breezy know that she is the first of many caterpillars to arrive, which will become a product of inestimable value, one of the Almighty's great gifts to humanity. But she doesn't want to talk more about the subject. They will have to wait for their time. She burps and apologizes, though she continues talking with her mouth full, and tells Breezy how important it is to eat as much as she can during the caterpillar stage, since her lifespan depends on that nutrition. Depending on the amount of energy she accumulates by consuming the delicious substances in the golden apples, she will be able to live many more years. She makes it clear that they will have plenty of time to talk in the future. After her stay in the cozy inner garden, feeding on the golden apples, Welcome began to prepare her chrysalis on the branch of one of the leafy apple trees to undergo her second transformation, although it will not be the last. Welcome is completely protected in its white and luminous chrysalis, from which iridescent sparkles emanate. Everyone in the palace of Thrace waits attentively and anxiously for the moment of hatching, from which a friendly little animal will emerge, whom Breezy christens Gilgamesh the Sumerian, for his peculiar features and accessories, which resemble the legendary king of the city-state of Uruk. Gilgamesh turned out to be similar to a firefly, but with a more human appearance, wearing a leather helmet. His mysterious, luminous section was shaped like a dodecahedron. Gilgamesh will be recognized as the first of the marvelous Dropperflys, with the goddess Chloris safely guarding the dropper's shell and the shining chrysalis. After completing his second metamorphosis, after spending a short time socializing and musically interacting with Breezy and his collaborators, including his incomparable pets, the scarab Khepri and the metamorphic cat Cypress, with whom he became close friends, Gilgamesh left the palace of Thrace to confront nature and human beings, especially children. To them, he could sing his joy of life and tell them interesting anecdotes and stories accumulated in his curious, luminous dodecahedral section, where he keeps the drops of knowledge. This section is closely related to sacred geometry, the geodesic sphere of the planet, and the golden number or the divine proportion, and therefore to the adamantine Chiron's cube, among many other things. Gilgamesh went to live in the main Sumerian city-states, becoming the precursor of the aids, minstrels, and troubadours of human history. Breezy and his group of collaborators, during the long years of the marvelous Dropperfly Gilgamesh's life, will be in charge of visiting and protecting him, as well as all future marvelous Dropperflies, who will live among the animals and deities of the forests in comfortable caves, which they make in the trunks of the trees of each region, close to populated areas, where they can also share with humans, who discover and recognize them when they go in search of their melodious musical sounds. Over time, the magic dropper will spawn new drops, which will complete their cycle of transformations to become each another marvelous Dropperfly with their own characteristics that will allow them to be identified with their core of civilization, where they will share with humans their melodious trills and the knowledge accumulated in their respective luminous sections. Among these first marvelous Dropperflies, we will meet the scribe Imhotep the Egyptian, Khitan the Cypriot, Irkab the Ablite, Atum the Elamite, Kangji the Chinese, Hapa, who will settle in the flourishing cities of the Indus Valley civilization, and Quipu, who will go to a very remote area across the sea with the Carol Supe civilization in present-day Peru. The brilliant chrysalides made by the caterpillars, along with the drop shells, will be ground by the goddess Chloris and turned into a magic powder, actually powdered energy, which will function according to the force of thought of whoever uses it, being able to heal a wound, beautify a flower, or act as a powerful sleeping pill, among many other uses. Chloris thinks that perhaps the magic powder can help her daughter mitigate her seizures and hallucinations, should she be poisoned by ergot again. Chloris, who keeps a low profile, leaving all the action to her daughter, will also be in charge of keeping a meticulous record of the birth, transformation, and metamorphosis of the marvelous Dropperflies. However, it is understandable that, as the other deity close to the magic dropper, Chloris barely uses her true powers. After each of these characters' lifetime on Earth has passed, which normally occurs after they exhaust the accumulated energy in their luminous section and can last several hundred years, the marvelous Dropperflies must return to the palace of Thrace before the last of their energy in their dodecahedral section is exhausted and undergo their final transformation, or metamorphosis, in the hands of the goddess Chloris. The marvelous Dropperflies, due to their divine origin, have many interesting qualities, which they will use to defend themselves from predators and reckless or abusive people. They also have certain knowledge of the future, often being able to predict events. To travel long distances, they can use the energy lines that make up the Earth's grid, while for short distances, they will use the corridors created by the winds. The wonderful Dropperfly Gilgamesh will delight everyone in the region of Sumer with his unmistakable trill, and will tell the stories of his heroes, such as the semi-divine Alulim, the son of Poseidon, and the first king in the history of humanity, whom Breezy and his group prepared to receive the energetic and educational enchanted lapis lazuli stones created by the goddess Gaia, or the exciting story of the Apkallu, wise spirits in the form of fishmen who lived on an island in the Persian Gulf. Also the story of King Sudra and the Great Flood, together with the creation of the secret order of Dion, or the epic of King Gilgamesh and his friend Enkidu, among many others. The marvelous Dropperfly, Gilgamesh the Sumerian, now very old, after living for several centuries, will be involved in the problems between Breezy and the powerful emperor Naram Sin of Akkad, grandson of Sargon the Great, recognized as the first emperor in the history of humanity by uniting all the Sumerian city-states under his command. Naram Sin, Breezy's staunch enemy since childhood, soon sought the protection of the evil earthly deities to combat them. As soon as he rose to power, he tried to seize the tablets of destiny, and then had all the marvelous Dropperflys kidnapped. Breezy, accompanied by her efficient collaborators, will have to rescue them and deliver a well-deserved punishment to the arrogant emperor of the 4 parts of the world. After these events, the aged and delicate Gilgamesh was able to undergo his final metamorphosis in the palace of Thrace. Under the care of the goddess Chloris, he was transformed into the very first codex-style books, which would later be known as the educational droppy books. These special books would, in the future, form the great library of the Palace of Thrace, along with countless manuscripts in different formats and many other documents. Breezy, who for the first time was able to contemplate the illustrations and read the stories of the magical book printed in cuneiform script, but above all, was able to touch the sturdy cover, had an idea, and, together with his collaborators, using the wax panels produced by his bees, they constructed the first wax tablets. These, with the help of the quill pen, would greatly facilitate the work of scribes, as they were a new, reusable, and portable writing medium. From now on, she will also be part of all the workshops and schools that Breezy and her collaborators will found in the most important cities in the history of humanity. For his part, the unique magic dropper, with his impressive synchronization with reality, will continue to spawn new drops, which, after their first metamorphosis, will become the friendly, cheerful, and educated marvelous Dropperflys, who will inhabit all the major cities around the planet. Breezy will name them after the most prominent figures in each region. These marvelous Dropperflys will be confidants of Breezy and her greatest allies, always on top of everything, even in the most unlikely places, to keep the girl well informed. The marvelous Dropperflys will be much loved by humans for being consummate artists, striking the best musical notes in their trills, and telling magnificent stories.